Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paranormal or Unexplained. I'm your host, Nick, and this is my co host, Jason.
How's it going, everybody?
And I know we've been gone for a little while, but we've had some stuff to do, so we actually had a moment to come back on and do a show. So tonight we're going to be discussing the phenomenon of black eyed children. So,
And if
oh,
you can't see us, that's not a problem on your end. We don't have video streaming of faces today.
yeah, the cameras are shut off, so it's basically just audio only. So, thank you all for coming in. We all hope you enjoy the show. So, Jason, you want to start off with this?
Yeah, I picked a legend, which of course I've told you already, but kind of originates back to my home state, Texas. Kind of dabbling into the black-eyed children this time. And the black-eyed children, they're a legend of exactly as they sound, black-eyed children. And it originated in Abilene, Texas around the 1980s. People would say that they would run into black-eyed children all over different geological locations around the world. It could be daytime, nighttime, anytime, but it always came back that they would run into like a couple of children, same MO, black eyes. The smallest child never spoke. Oldest child always spoke, very punctual, intelligence, But there are some discrepancies that you have with the black-eyed children, which we'll go into later, where origins and all that have come into it. But you got anything you want to ask before we kick it off?
The only thing I haven't heard anything about this phenomenon until like sometime in like almost 2010. Um,
Okay.
and like it was a wide range of different theories, conspiracy theories, things like that. And I do remember there was a paranormal investigation, I believe, over in England,
Mm-hmm.
um, that they said that there was supposed to be a black eyed child there, but that was more of a ghost of like an entity, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And what this phenomenon is actually like physical like children that have like black eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, that's debatable because according to myth, they come from several different things. Nobody's ever said what it is, but yeah, you are kind of leaning like towards what their main myth is, that they're physical children of some kind of physical being.
yes, yes, there's supposed to be like a physical manifestation, but the only thing is that when they are basically encountered, they're always encountered in more than one. They have clothes that are not like dated for the time that they're in. So, like, let's say somebody has an encounter with them right now, they're dressed for like somebody that was like from the 1980s and that kind of era, or
Yeah,
earlier
and
than
then,
that.
and then they've had ones that it's been uh, a relative of sort or a friend of the family's child that had appeared to them and stuff like that. And it all goes back to this, but we'll get into it we'll kick it off with the origins of them. Okay, the origins start back around 1980 in Abilene, Texas. Now, what happened was that there was and it's a pretty short story, but it's just like the first article written about it by an Abilene news reporter, and it was called "Monsters and Mysteries in America." And that was a television show that was also took the name of the article and went with it. But Black Eyed Children first developed in that story, and it was a woman just simple claim that she was getting out of her car coming home from work, and when she exited the car, turned around, there was a kid standing on her porch, had his head down, saying he needed help. And she said she approached him, was going to help the child, but something seemed off about him. So she went and got back in her car and locked herself in her car, And when she looked up, the kid was standing at her door, at her driver's side door, and he was staring at her, and his eyes were pitch black. And all he kept saying was, "Let me in." And she drove off, made a report, and the rest is history. But there's been several other stories. They made a horror movie in 2012 called The Black Eyed Kids. You know, not to be confused with the Black Eyed Peas. But they had gone on and been mentioned on MSN's Weekly Strange Encounters. They've been featured on a lot of things. So origin stories, usually they hit the media probably around the 1980s, which would probably come into be that you were young at that point, probably why you never heard of them until early 2000s.
Yeah, I was born in 81, so, like...
So, yeah, right about the time that this all started off, you were just popping out your mama.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now we'll go into the popular theories about where these kids are and come from. Now, there's been other theories that they are extraterrestrials, that they're aliens from Earth that are just trying to find out how we live, disguising themselves as black-eyed children. Why that would have worked, they thought, I don't know. But that's one theory. Another is vampires. I'm not going to get into that because that's kind of ridiculous. And ghost. Ghosts are the one of the last theories, but the second most plausible to the thing. Now, the number one theory is that these are children that died in horrific ways, or very bad ways, either meaning that they were murdered, sacrificed, or committed some kind of crime or something bad and something happened to them in the process of it. And that these kids' souls were taken from them, and that they're pretty much just soulless entities that walk around, and if you come across one, it's usually a sign of a bad omen. Like, you're going to have a heart attack in the morning or something like that.
Something tragic to either that person or their family,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and so, like, there's multiple stories of what they do and what they want, and so I'll get into that and tell you a couple of the stories, so that way you get a little kind of a grasp on them. Let me get over to my monitor here and pull up all the stories I had written down.
Now, at one point when we were discussing this, you said they could also be demonic as well.
Yes, that is where I was going into this with one of the stories, but since you touched on it, we'll hop into it real quick. There are certain instances, as we did say, where most of the time, a good 99% of the time that these claims are being made, it's more than one child. But there's been instances where there's been only one child present when a black-eyed child is being witnessed. And the people that witness one have always said one thing above ones that's witnessed multiple is that they felt in danger. They felt something evil. And unlike the other ones, and so due to these beliefs and these feelings that people had encountering a single one instead of multiple, is that they've come to the conclusion or the theory that, like, certain animals have alphas and they're stronger than others. Like, this would be an alpha black child. But I don't lean on that fact. The kind of one that, like, if I had to pick or choose, would be the one that it's a demon mocking a child, and is probably one of the demons that has something to do with the black-eyed children, like, henceforth, dragging their souls to hell. And that's what I gathered or what I read for them. But, like, here's one of the stories here. It's, where does this take place? This takes place in Washington. It doesn't say a town, it just says Washington.
Okay.
And guy says that he said almost the whole thing felt like a dream to him, but he wakes up in the middle of the night and he has a 22-month-old kid and a wife at home and a dog. And so he's being a new daddy. He's pretty cautious about his house being locked up and stuff. And his dog's a pretty good guard dog.
Mm-hmm.
And his dog wakes him up in the middle of the night barking at something downstairs at his front door. So he goes downstairs to the front door, and his dog is like hair standing up on his back, like just like slowly growling at this door. And as the man tries to approach the door, the dog starts like panicking and like jumping up on him, trying to keep him away from the door. And when the guy even mentions that when he grabs the door handle and starts to try to unlock it, the dog goes from crying to whimpering and crying. And so he said he felt uneasy at that point, and he says he let go of the door, and right then's when he heard it.
Mm-hmm.
He let go of the door, and he heard from the other side of the door. He said, "I heard a young woman's voice say, 'I need to use your phone.'" And he said it was very punctual. He said, "My problem is," he says, "I hadn't touched the door handle or anything at that moment." He said, "I hadn't turned on a porch light." He's like, "How did they?" And my door wasn't like a glass pane door where you could see through it. She's like, "How did they know I was there?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and it started to throw me off. And then I looked through the peephole, and he said, I saw one girl that was about 16 years old, honey blonde hair. She was wearing a hoodie that kind of looked like it was early 90s type hoodie. And she was holding the hand of a girl that had to be 3 or 4 years old. And he said it was a little girl that got him worried because he said it was cold outside and he wanted to bring them in. And he said he started to reach for the door again, but that's when her tone changed. It changed from being like sympathetic and asking to let me use the phone to her belling out a deeper, darker, "Let us use your phone."
More demanding, more authoritative kind of.
Yes. And then when he starts to back away from the door, still at this time not saying anything, they start trying to push the door open. And he freaks out and thinks, okay, I'm being set up. Somebody's probably breaking in the back of my house
Mm-hmm.
and trying to get in. So he runs, calls the cops. The cops show up, and he had a security camera up on his porch.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to play the footage. The footage plays. There's no girls standing on his porch. But the problem that the police had, that they couldn't dismiss it, they could hear the questions, though.
Okay, so they had audio, but no like actual
Yes,
video of somebody being
they
there.
could hear the little girls asking to use the phone. They just couldn't see them. And that's as far as that report went.
Okay.
So,
Well, that
that
basically
was just one of them.
that kind of sounds similar to the stories that I've heard when I first started hearing about this phenomenon. There was a story, gentleman in the middle of the night. He was living by himself, and it was well after midnight. He was downstairs in his living room watching TV after working, and he was about to go to bed when he heard a knock at the door. Obviously, he gets up and goes to check to see who it is, and he sees two children
Like
standing up.
every horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like living by himself. He's not living in the city, obviously. He's living
Yeah,
like
where's the horror movie thing that does like the real stuff we would do? Like if a little girl was scratching at my door going, "Let me in," I would be in my bed with the covers over my head, not going out scavenging for fucking supplies.
I know, right? But he checks the door. He sees two children standing up front, like standing in front of the door. One was about the same age as you said, probably about 3 or 4. The other one is like in their teens. But instead of the 16-year-old girl, the oldest one was a male, and the youngest one was a little girl. Basically, the same thing. We need to use your phone. Could you please let us in? And can you please help us? Um, he was about to open the door, but he got a very, very like eerie feeling, like something bad was going to happen if he let them in. So obviously, he decides not to do it, and he basically just asks them to leave.
Yeah.
In doing after he asked that, they basically became more assertive, please let us in, please let us in, trying to push on the door. And as they're doing this, the feeling that he's getting is getting worse. He's starting to
Mhm.
freak out now because he doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't know who these kids are, and he's watching them and their eyes turn black. So at this point he's now super freaked out, and the kids are actually like giggling and laughing on the other side of the door. That's basically where the story ends. He obviously didn't let them in and he ran off, um, and they just disappeared. Where they went, he does not know. They just vanished. That basically is, for most of this phenomenon, that's basically what happens, is that you get a visitation in the middle of the night. They're asking for help. They're asking to use your phone. They're asking you to let them into your home, and those who do not, basically, they try to force themselves in, and they're
Yeah.
always dressed in like a different era style of clothing, and it's always
Mhm.
one older, one younger person. It could either be two girl, one guy, but there's always one teenager and one adolescent with them.
Right. Yeah. See, and like I'm sitting here and I'm scrolling through my notes, and like, yeah, you touched on a few things. It's kind of like that. Like, for example, like we were talking about how they always come in twos, and they're always asking to come inside. They're It's like when you're in public and you're not around somewhere where they can enter,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have the encounter. These are more like places like where, like a place of business that somebody owned,
Right.
and they're always trying to get inside.
Now,
And a theory that a priest had, what is his name? Curtis something. But this priest has a theory that these are demonic entities that are incapable of entering a home unless invited. And then once you invite these black-eyed children in your home, the children may leave, but the spirit never does.
okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's like, like how they have to say, like, for possession of some sort, sometimes you have to get permission for it to enter.
Yes.
And kind of like with the Ouija board, you have to give it permission to come in and be part of everything.
Yes.
And it's the same reason why the kids, they can't come in on their own. They have to get you to give them permission.
Yes. Yes. They're always
another theory that they come from. And it does kind of go and coincide with some of these stories about how they can be demonic and other things, because, like, for example, here, this is an encounter I told you about already, but they hadn't heard about yet. But it's happened on a school bus. And a kid was being bullied that had lost his brother months before this in a drowning accident. And for some reason, like, some kids out there can be assholes. This one bully kid, because this kid's brother died, decided that he would be picked on now because his brother died.
Mm-hmm.
And the bullying steadily got worse, until one day he, like, beat the hell out of this kid, like, really bad. And that kid that beat up the bully kid went home that night and went to bed. And when he woke up the next morning, that whole kid's life had changed because the parents had walked in the morning to get him, and he had not slept all night. He was in the corner of his room, wrapped up in his blankets, like in full catatonic shock, saying that the brother of the kid that he bullied, along with other kids that he didn't know, was at his window last night and tapped on his window, and when he opened up the curtains, they were standing there like face almost face planting against the window, staring at him, and they told him that if he was to hurt them again and all these other things, that they would drag him to hell. And yeah, I mean, don't know how many more words to put, but dragging to hell sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Sounds pretty demonic to me.
Yeah. Well, not so much demonic, probably more vengeful than anything else.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like I was telling you earlier, and I'll say it to them. If these things are malevolent spirits, what does it care that this kid is bullying some kid on a bus?
Well, I mean, we all know what happens with some people, and bullying today, like it has a negative effect. So if that was, in fact, the spirit of his brother, it's more of like a warning than anything else. It's basically the spirit of the brother trying to protect the other one.
Yeah. But my whole thing was that if, it goes to the theory that these kids are soulless now, and are pretty much puppets of some demonic force, why do they care then?
Right. I see.
But now if it turns out to where it's like the other way, like where now if you go into the ghost section of them, and they're ghost, then yeah, that would make sense, spirit looking after one of their loved ones,
Yeah.
And hell, he even brought homies with him. The graveyards, they don't fuck around with bullying.
No,
like, hey,
no, they don't.
Guys, we gotta go.
No, they don't.
But yeah, there's been just many of them, and I'll give you the top 10 facts that I have on black-eyed children. Okay, number 1, black-eyed kids will look normal, like normal human children between the ages of 4 to 16 with pale skin and completely black eyes. Additionally, people that have been in close proximity of the kids have, said that they feel uneasy and just genuine fear and anxiety wash over them. Some people have also reported seeing black-eyed kids that have talons on their feet and other demonic attributes, but most of the sightings are of seemingly normal children. Black-eyed kids are also commonly described as wearing clothing and dressing in a manner that is not typical of a child of their age. Black-eyed children always ask for something. Like, they want to know, can I use your phone? Can I get it in the car with you? Can I come into your house? And every one of their questions is usually to bring you within close quarters to them. Which, that kind of fucking gives me the chills that they're just trying to get close to me. Because what happens when they do get close? That's the thing nobody ever knows. Because the whole world's a bunch of pussies and we run every time we see them. Nobody's ever just been like, yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
We'll get you some eye drops for those eyes.
Well, that's the other thing, too. When they're first encountered, their eyes are normal looking, and then they turn black. So it's not like they're black right off the bat. Like, as soon as you look at them, they look perfectly normal. Their eyes are normal, and then they turn eventually as the encounter continues.
Yeah, but see, and that's where we're going with this, is that there's literally, I have looked on here. We've been planning on doing this for a little while now. And since the day we've talked about it, I have scavenged and scavenged and scavenged. And this is the one thing that just completely debunks this whole thing for me almost.
Okay.
Is that between all these hundreds of stories that are on here, because I just picked like the top 10 and wrote them down of what I could find. Problem is that through all these hundreds of stories, there's not one reported story of what happens when you let a black-eyed children in your home or vehicle. There's not one.
Right.
And so my thoughts are on it that if, I know we live in a kind of a shitty world right now, and people aren't as nice as they used to be back in the 80s when, a kid could probably walk up to your doorstep and you let them in. But you're going to tell me out of tens of thousands of people that have seen these things across the world, and that if these things are legitimately true, that there's not one out of tens of thousands that just had a soft spot for these two kids and was like, come inside. I would take the chance.
Right.
And that right there to me is almost like out the window, because you would think there'd have to be, because I know you good enough, Nick, to know that you're a no-nonsense kind of guy, and if two kids showed up at your door in the middle of the night, yeah, you'd question it. But you're not a cold-hearted bastard who would leave a 3-year-old to freeze to death on the porch either.
No, I wouldn't. No. But
not
also,
saying when you invited them in, you wouldn't have a shotgun within, like, arm's reach, but...
Well, that kind of ties in with the whole thing of what you were saying in the beginning. If they were demonic or malevolent in any way, how do we know somebody did let them in? Something happened to that person overnight, they passed away, and no trace of the kids were left. Basically, if they came upon the body, it looked like the person died of a natural death or an unexplained murder.
No, see, that's always one route you can go. And because, because you would think, though, that, like, if they did get in and everything went smooth and they just left, that, like, you'd have, like, one old 90-year-old lady that, like, maybe this is how it happened. Maybe there's, like, one 90-year-old lady, like, in a retirement home somewhere that's, like, telling the story of the time that she had coffee and crumpets with fucking two black-eyed children.
Yeah.
And nobody believes her.
Yeah, that's true.
She's just like, yeah, that came in. 3 o'clock in the morning, knocked on the door and said, I smell coffee. And I said, come on in. And they came on in, and we sat down, and we watched Scooby-Doo and Mickey Mouse and all his friends, and then they just went on their way afterwards.
Well, that it makes sense, though, because how would you believe somebody that's, like, in a nursing home, basically, and at like, in a not right place in their mind? You wouldn't be able to believe something like that.
And see, so, to me, is the theory that this is possible of happening, well, yeah, I guess anything's possible. But is this going to be one of those ones that I'm, like, leaning towards that this is fact? I would probably throw this more in just the unexplained than I would paranormal, because this is just like,
it's more of an urban legend than,
it's more of a friend-to-friend ghost story.
Yes
Than it is anything with concrete proof. Like, literally, and even with that one story where they said police could hear the people talking, if that was the case, why isn't that video everywhere? Like, police tagging it. Actual police evidence. 2 girls recorded that are seen standing there, but not on camera. That'd be something you would think you would see somewhere.
Right. That's why it's basically more of an urban legend than it is like an actual paranormal, like, fact.
Yeah, you get a bug fly across the traffic camera, and that shit's on YouTube for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't an angel? Oh, I don't know. But but then you get like audio recording of two ghosts asking to enter your house, and that doesn't make it somehow.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you on that.
So, but that, I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot for the Black Eyed Children because this is such, in the paranormal world, would be like a newer story. But I mean, as the stories that I've gotten, those are some of the most convincing, because like the other ones, I mean, they really do, and not trying to discredit it any more than I already have.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all pretty repetitive.
Oh yeah, I guess it's all the same incidents. It's
Yeah,
all they
so
visit your
I mean, I
house.
could tell you one thing and just replace like a boy with a girl, an age by a year or two, and then the question they're asking, and then there's your encounter.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could literally sit on here for another 30 minutes reading these stories to you, and you go, let me guess. They asked if they could come in, and they said no. So I'm not going to waste everybody's time with the other ones.
Now I have heard things when I was like looking into this phenomenon that they are kind of tied into the whole Men in Black as well. With
Yeah, see, that's something I was going to let you go into because I read a little bit about that, but I stuck more to the demonic and ghostly realm than the Men in Black.
well, even then, sometimes like people really don't know what the Men in Black are. They don't know if they are extraterrestrial, if they are other like demonic or angelic spirits either,
Yeah,
because
I mean, and the one thing about the Men in Black that can't be denied about anything is it is one of the most paranormal things out there with video evidence.
yes, I have seen some of the video evidence as well.
There
Um,
was there was the one that happened like a couple year or two ago, and the girl has still never been seen to this day. But she was like a receptionist at a law firm,
I haven't even
and
seen that one, so that's new to me.
oh yeah, I'll send you the link to it here in a little bit. Maybe we'll do a Men in Black episode and we can show it on there.
Okay, sounds
But
good.
like what it is that like she's standing there and the guy who is a lawyer in the law firm is sitting there and he's like, I'm trying to record this on my phone right now because they have our servers locked down.
Mm-hmm.
So he's recording the monitor with his phone because
Mm-hmm.
he's saying all the servers and all that are locked down now because the Men in Black showed up to his work that day. Nobody's believing them that they're there, and the receptionist is missing.
Huh.
And so he records this video and posts it to YouTube. And then the guy comes back later on and says he never posted that video when all the IP addresses and all that came back to be him.
Mm-hmm.
But he still quotes he never put that video out. So, but the video starts with the same guy saying he didn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
telling that he's recording it on with his phone because of the servers.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is he's like, now watch this window over here, and it's like the window in the top right. He's like, after a few minutes, you'll see somebody, and like you see a figure in a black suit come and stand in that window for about 5 minutes just watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then he makes his way around to the front door. They come inside. They start talking to the lady. And at first they're all cordial and stuff. And then you can see her starting to get a little defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally at one point in the video, she goes underneath the desk and into her purse and pulls out a concealed carry gun she has. And the guy says something to her very softly and gently.
Mm-hmm.
She puts the gun down on the counter, walks around the counter, opens up a door I guess they were asking to get into. She walks in that door with them, walks back out, and then walks out of the building with them, and she's never seen again.
Yeah, I've never heard that story. I haven't even seen the video for it yet, so
Yeah,
that's
I'll
new
send
to
you the
me.
video after we get off here. And that'd be something we can discuss here later.
Yeah, but as I was saying with the whole Black Eyed Children and Men in Black, there have been reports from people saying that they've seen Men in Black with like children in their car driving around like the areas where Black Eyed Children have been reported being seen.
Well,
Um,
damn, I mean, even the little black-eyed kids need ice cream, day. You know, like, can't leave them locked up in Area 51 all day. Got to take the kids out for some ice cream.
Now, another thing, I'm going to say, like you mentioned in the beginning when you were trying to like describe some of them, you said that they were extraterrestrial. Another thing is that some people said that they are hybrids. They're basically human alien hybrid, hence the black eyes and like the pale skin, things like
See,
that.
that to me is just
It's
I've
far
never
fetched.
been a fan of the human hybrid theory.
Right. It's very, very far fetched, but I mean, it's still within the whole entire realm of
Yeah, because I mean,
paranormal.
as far as like the human hybrid point, there's certain aspects that people literally got to look at to be like, is this really plausible? Because you think of it, there are almost as many chemicals on the elemental table that can kill you
Mm-hmm.
that can also benefit your body.
Right.
And so for me to think, and that the human body being as fragile of a shell that it is,
Mm-hmm.
to mix it with unknown DNA, like out in the world. And I'm not saying it hasn't been done by any government in the world before, because I mean it's a proven fact that the Russians did it back in World War II when they they literally used to force breed women with gorillas,
I didn't hear anything
thinking
about
that
that.
thinking that it would create a super soldier.
That's just messed up. I'm sorry, that's
Yeah,
really
it's not the
messed up.
first time that people's tried this kind of thing, but on an extra dimensional, like on an extraterrestrial level, that's like a whole different ball field, because now you're dealing with things that aren't even on our periodic table.
Right, right. But like I said again, that is still something that's with not with in the realm of what we're talking about. It's far
Yeah.
fetched, but if the whole entire extraterrestrial phenomenon exists, it's not without
Well,
possibility.
no, I mean, because even then we go back to the point like where we were talking about earlier, like, well, we were talking in private earlier, but we were talking earlier about how do they walk among us
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, and it's like a lot of people say they do, and if they do, and they've been here for a while, the thing is that they've had to been able to like blend into our society, like, and henceforth like marry, reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it'd be kind of obvious though, like when you went down to the doctor's office and they're like, "It's time to stick that finger up your butt," and they're like, "Why do you have 7 colons?" You know.
Right, right. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying exactly. But um
But I mean, that's as far as like the black-eyed children go. There, I think what reaches to most of us about this story is that somewhere deep down, no matter who you are, whether you have kids or not, fucking kids creep you out.
not always. It's just
No, 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 not the like the nice ones. It's like, you know, hey, look, I'm riding a horse.
yeah,
But like go back to every horror movie you've ever watched, and
right.
that one little bastard kid that went full demonic shit and was like, you know, rambling through doors and trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Right,
Because
right, right.
like as a human, you're like, what defense do I have if I murder this small child trying to kill me? What
Well,
cop's gonna be like? I understand.
well, that's the whole entire thing. Like, if you were to encounter something like that, how would you prove what happened
That
to
you
you?
didn't murder a child.
Yeah, like you basically like let's say for example, this happens to you, you let them in, they attack you, and in self-defense you harm them or you kill them. How would you be able to prove?
Well, see, and then now you just brought up a whole new theory. What if black-eyed children have gotten into people's houses, and these people just murdered the shit out of them, and now
You were breaking up, dude.
Oh no, I was saying, like, what happens if, like, these kids did get into somebody's house
Mm-hmm.
and they just straight up murdered the kids, and like, because they're like black-eyed children, evil demon shit, and so they came in, tried to kill the people. The people killed the black-eyed children in defense.
Mm-hmm.
Cops show up and is like, "You just murdered 2 children,"
Exactly.
and then now you go to prison. I mean, now you've opened up another realm of things that's possible. Maybe there's people sitting in prison right now going, "I swear to God, that bitch had black eyes."
Yeah, like that's why I said this is more of an urban legend. There hasn't been enough evidence to actually like prove that these things have happened. They're just more stories than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been happening for years now, and probably longer since the 1980s. But like once, like you said, once the 1980s hit, that's when these stories started surfacing. But they
Yeah.
could have been happening far longer than that, for all we know.
Well, and see, and you've walked into and also a perfect storm for paranormal stories and paranormal debunking. With like the one thing that wasn't huge back then was the internet.
Right, right.
And you know, the way of life was completely different. Like showing up to somebody's doorstep and saying, "I need to use your phone," back then was more of a common thing. Like if I had broken down in my car,
Exactly.
I would have had to walk to somebody's house and said, "Can I use your phone?"
Right, right. And more,
But now we live in a day of technology where literally there's either a button you can press to call for help, or Joe Schmo homeless dude sitting on the sidewalk, 9% chance he has a phone.
right, right.
You ain't got to walk into somebody's house to use a phone now.
Exactly. Like that's not so much of a common occurrence as it used to be. And way back when, you were more able to let somebody into your home without fear of being like attacked or anything like that. I mean, yeah, it happened, but not as much as it did today. I mean, today it could be like a bait, you know? Like they're just basically luring the person to the front, and then next thing you know, that person's getting robbed.
Yeah, and see, that's the common occurrence I see with this is like, if these stories happened and these people really saw this,
Mm-hmm.
my biggest bet is that somebody was using kids to set these people up to rob them.
Right.
Like, as soon as they could get the old lady to open up the door to let the 2 kids in, 2 burly-ass dudes were pushing through with guns.
Right.
You know, something like that, you know, is kind of like the bait and switch thing, kind of like they do with cars, how they make you pay attention to one area while they take everything you got in another.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but that'd be more along the thing that I would associate this with. And then plus, like I was saying, back then with no technology, stories wasn't like I could go hop on Facebook and say, "Oh shit, black-eyed child just came to my house." You know, this was something like you went to sleep and woke up the next day and you told Lucy down the street about it, and Lucy told the barber, and the barber told like 15 people, and then that's how the stories got out, and that's how they became urban legends. And people were like, "Oh, did you hear what happened in this town 3 places away?" And stuff like that doesn't happen anymore, though.
Right.
But, well, that's all I got for the black-eyed kids tonight.
Yeah, like I said, this topic is within the realm of paranormal, But again, like I said, it's more urban legend than anything else because nobody really has any kind of concrete evidence. It's more just hearsay and story wise. So,
Exactly. So
un-
that's what's that?
I was just going to say, it's more story and just like hearsay and conspiracy theory. That's basically all it is. And unfortunately, we don't have much more to go by it. Um,
So for that reason and that reason only, when it comes down to like the name of the channel is paranormal or unexplained, I would have to throw this just more in the category of just unexplained than paranormal.
exactly, exactly. Because
There's just way more evidence to show that either this was folk tales or that these were really kids that people were just leaving on doorsteps. They were cold.
yeah, in the middle of the night, freezing cold. Yeah, yeah.
You're too big of a pansy to open up.
But then again, like this does open up the whole entire thing for like this was like to me this seems more like the whole early state like early formation of like how creepy pasta was.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
basically how it is to
and
me.
another thing, like I'll have to dabble back and go back and recheck research and things because there's also like when you dabble in the paranormal, you got to look for certain things that you wouldn't normally look for in a story too, like patterns. Like, do these appearances of black-eyed children do they happen in a pattern where it's like so many years or a certain
Yeah.
month, or is it anything like that? But you know, like you were saying, with it being as new as it is and just not the evidence needed,
Yeah.
you just can't prove anything. You can't even remotely start to even guess
Right, right,
because it's just purely speculation.
right. It's like I said, it's more hearsay than anything else.
Yep.
But since that's all we have tonight for this topic, next week we're gonna do this Saturday, right?
Saturday next week. Yeah.
Okay. So next Saturday.
Back then, probably too.
What's that?
So we'll most likely have our cameras and all that running back then too.
Yeah, we're gonna try to. Um, Next Saturday we're going to be doing the Kentucky Goblin incident, which, if most of you don't know, was in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, I think it was, in 1950s. Very, very interesting story. So we're going to be touching on that next weekend. They're hybrid adults that have
And
infiltrated.
as far as I can give y'all any heads up, he sent me a video to this, and I've seen parts of it. And the one thing that keeps stretching out of my mind with this is that there, I can't say like evidence of paranormal because it's just like I said, it's just hard to explain or prove paranormal. But this has more articles of evidence than a lot of stories you read.
Yeah.
With just like complaints, reports, and all that. It's definitely has more proof in the pudding than the black-eyed children does.
Yes.
So be ready for that one.
Hold on a second here. Dave Roche says there are hybrid adults that have been infiltrated all over this world. They are in the world governments, just waiting for the signal to start their ultimate plans for humans and this world. ET abductees have been informed that soon there will be a different world. We are in people. We will be happy. We know their place in this world. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, that goes back because, I mean, there's several theories that go and think that. Like lizard people.
Yes, the reptiloids, reptilians.
They're just not extraterrestrial. Because, like, well, depending on which reptilians you're talking about, I guess. Because
yeah.
The Earth-bound reptilians, and then there's the space-bound reptilians.
Yes, like that goes with like a whole different branch, and another lovely little topic we'll be touching on at some point, like later on down the line. So.
And One question I would have for David would be like, if I mean, apparently by the way you're typing here, and I'm not gonna try to assume anything like off of you or anything, but I would go off the fact that since you typed that in like such detail about what's going to go down, that you either believe this or have done some pretty good studies into it. And my one question is always to people that say that they're here living among us and that they have this whole new world order like planned for us, is if they've been here for years and all this, and just to get here it means they've had to have had technology beyond our fathoming. Why are they sitting here letting people starve and these wars and what? I mean, if you believe in climate change and all this go down, when most likely these things have technology that could stop something like this, or they've experienced it on another planet that they've had and know some solution or something.
Well, that goes into the whole entire conspiracy theory of basically just taking over our planet and basically kicking us out, making this planet for themselves.
I was going towards his thing with they're going to start a new world order for us and people were going to be blissfully happy and stuff. And I'm like, well, if their whole purpose was to help us, why haven't they begun to?
More than likely because we would have to need their help than anything else. Then basically they want us to...
Well, they came here, so apparently they need our help for something. Apparently somewhere to live, at least.
True.
So it seems like we've already holding our bargain. You're getting to live here.
True.
You know, so I mean, I'd be like, all right, look, all right, I'm just gonna put it out to you, Bibbidi Bop. That's the name of the alien, Bibbidi Bop. I'd be like, listen here, Bibbidi Bop. I'm president of the United States. You've been living in Colorado for 3 fucking years. I haven't made you pay taxes or nothing. It's about time we got that cure for cancer you've been saying since like 1970 something.
No, I know what you're saying, brother. I know what you're saying.
But unless the president is a reptilian.
A lot of people have said the past presidents have been, or they're in league with them. So, I mean, that theory's been thrown around a lot.
Face.
Huh?
Yeah, that's why Donald Trump's face is like really orange, because I got to paint over the reptilian of it.
All right, everybody, but that's all we got for tonight. Like I said, next weekend we are going to be doing the Kentucky Goblins. So we hope to see you all then. Probably going to be doing it around the same time. So.
Yep. So, well, again, thank you for joining us for the Black Eyed Children, and we always enjoy having you on here. If there's any questions, comments, personal questions, anything you have for us, leave it in the comments or shoot the page a direct message.
Yep,
and if you haven't already, or know somebody that hasn't already, tell them or tell yourself to hit that like and follow button.
Yep. If anybody, like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to message the page. We will get back to you. So.
I got no life, so.
You have a life, man. But until then, have a good night, everybody. Thank you all again for coming in. I'm Nick.
Be safe out there. Take care of each other.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.